Hi, my name is Miss Trish, and I'm a dental hygienist from Goodwin Community Health. So this year is a little different. I usually come into your school and talk about teeth and how to take care of them. But this year, most of you guys are learning from home. Some of you may have seen me last year when I came into school. Some of you might have missed, but I'm going to leave you this video this year, and hopefully I get to see you next year. Okay, so we're going to talk about teeth today. Now, why are our teeth so important? Yes, to eat, to chew, to talk, and for a great smile too. Okay, so if you said any of those, you were right. What we're gonna do today is talk about our tools for our teeth. And I have Daisy here. If you guys remember Daisy, we're gonna help you show you how to brush correctly. Maybe you remember from last year, maybe you just need a reminder, okay? So here's Daisy. Our first tool, of course, is our toothbrush. We wanna make sure we have the right size toothbrush, okay? We wanna take 2 teeth at a time. The number 2 is our favorite number when we're talking about teeth. So only 2, because that's all our teeth can fit on this toothbrush bristles. So what we do is we take 2 teeth, we count to 10. Okay, remember when we're brushing, we're taking the plaque germs off of our teeth. Okay, and our gums too. What color are Daisy's gums? Yeah, they're pink. Okay, that's a perfect color. So Daisy's been doing a good job at keeping her teeth clean. Make sure you're getting all those germs off. And we count to 10 when we're doing those 2 teeth, okay? Then we move to the next 2 and count to 10 again. Okay, do all the ones on the outside where everybody can see, but don't forget you gotta do the insides. Okay, this is tricky. Get in there and then don't forget where you chew. So, if you remember, brush outside, inside, where we chew, and don't forget your tongue too. How long do you brush your teeth for? Yes, 2 minutes. Remember, number 2 is our favorite number. So when we're brushing every time, morning and night, we want to brush for 2 whole minutes. Some of us may have a timer on our toothbrush. Our toothbrush may have a red light, yellow light, green light, or sometimes those sand timers that dribble down, and as the sand dribbles, when it ends, you can stop. Okay? So you gotta brush 2 whole minutes. That way I know you're doing a good job at keeping your teeth clean and you're doing a good job. Okay? That's our toothbrush. Next is our toothpaste. I'm not gonna open our toothpaste today, but don't forget, we only want a pea-sized toothpaste, like the size of my finger or your finger. Little drop, okay? We don't wanna cover the whole toothbrush because we don't wanna swallow our toothpaste. We don't want a bellyache, remember? And of course, we don't want to waste it either, okay? So that's our toothpaste. Next is flossing. Does anybody floss? I do. Great. We have 2 things of floss. We have the floss sticks, which are a lot easier, or we have string floss. We open our string floss, just like this. And I'm going to show you both ways, okay? This is a lot easier and it's okay to use this. Floss cleans in between our teeth. Our bristles just can't fit in between our teeth, okay? So we need to get the floss in there. We want to wiggle, 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 up and down, up and down. Wiggle, 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 up and down, up and down. And you're going to do all of those spots, okay? We don't want to go side to side because that's like a saw. I don't want you to cut your gums. I'll be sore for a couple days, okay? So make sure you're up and down. Now, with our string floss, if you want to practice with string floss, that's great. Wrap it around your middle finger, make it a little bit of space between each finger. Then you pinch and hold. You have those in case you want them. Same thing, wiggle, 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 up and down, up and down. Wiggle, 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 up and down, up and down. It's a lot harder, but it's good to practice too, okay? So that is our floss. I hope you guys are flossing at home. It's really important, okay? Our next tool is our Fluoride Rinse. I just have a little bottle here, but I bet a few of you have a big bottle like this at home. Sometimes you squeeze the top and it fills up the cap, okay? This is the same thing. This is called fluoride. Makes your teeth stronger, okay? Puts muscles on your teeth like superheroes. So you take a little bit, you swish it around, swish it on all of your teeth so that all muscles get everywhere, okay? And then, do you want to spit it out or do you want to swallow it? I hope you said spit it out. Good, because we don't want a bellyache with this either, okay? So that's how you use this. I hope you can use this correctly. I bet you can. You guys are first graders now. Good job. Next, Daisy's going to take a break, and I'm going to read you a story, okay? It's about the Tooth Fairy. So here's the Tooth Fairy book. I'm going to read it to you, okay? It's a pretty cool book, because I bet you some of you are losing teeth now. If not, you've already started losing teeth, okay? If not, you will pretty soon. So here it's called the Dear Tooth Fairy. Find the pages. Here we go. Holly's tooth was loose. It got looser and looser, and then it fell out. I could give it to the Tooth Fairy, she thought, and get a coin. But Holly liked her tooth and wanted to keep it. So she put some plastic vampire fangs under her pillow instead. The Tooth Fairy should be happy because she's getting lots of teeth, Holly said. The next morning, the vampire fangs were still there, but there was this tiny envelope. Let's see what it says. While you were asleep, we received a visit from the Tooth Fairy. I was unable to take your tooth because it was not a human tooth. Remember, it was a fangs. It did not come from a child. It did not belong to you. It was made from the wrong material. Please leave the correct tooth under your pillow. I shall return tonight. The Tooth Fairy. So she left the wrong teeth, and the Tooth Fairy knew it. Let's see what happens. Holly read the Tooth Fairy's note over and over. She was delighted. I'll write back, she thought. This is what she wrote. Dear Tooth Fairy, thank you for coming last night. I've never had a visit from the Tooth Fairy before. I have a few questions. Why do you want my tooth? How did you know it had come out? Are there lots of Tooth Fairies, or are you the only one? Where do you live? Please answer. Love, Holly. P.S. I drew a picture of you. I hope you like it. Here's your picture. Holly put the letter under her pillow. That night, the Tooth Fairy came back. There she is. When Holly looked under her pillow the next morning, her note was gone. In its place was a new envelope. Holly read the letter and looked at the leaflet. She thought about the Tooth Fairies flying hither and thither around the world. See what was said. Dear Holly, questions, questions. We Tooth Fairies are very busy, you know. Luckily, there are many of us. Each night, we leave our home in Fairyland and fly around the world collecting teeth. Human teeth are very useful to fairies. They are white, our favorite color, strong, and last a long time. At the moment, we're using the teeth to build a palace for the Fairy Queen. I know your tooth had fallen out because the tip of my wings tingled. They tingled a lot, which means yours is a very good tooth. You must have taken good care of it. I look forward to seeing it tonight when I return. Please leave it under your pillow. The Tooth Fairy. P.S. Your drawing was very good, but a little too green. I don't think the Tooth Fairy liked the green picture. I think her favorite color is white. All that day, Holly wondered what Fairyland must be like. She wrote another note to the Tooth Fairy. Dear Tooth Fairy, thank you so much for your letter. I am glad you liked my picture, but please don't be angry. There's just one more thing I need to know. Well, two, actually. Are there different kinds of fairies? What do they look like? Or what do they do all day and night? I know the fairies want my tooth, but I want to be sure they will be left to good owners. Love, Holly. That night, the Tooth Fairy visited one more time. Oops, I got two. Dear Holly, I'll tell you what this fairy does all day and night. Waits around for you to give her her tooth. I really need your tooth for the Fairy Queen's palace, so I'll answer these questions, but no more. This poster shows some of the different kinds of fairies and what they do. Most fairies are useful, except Beauregards, who are just nuisances. Please, leave your tooth fairy under your pillow, the Tooth Fairy. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna put the book down for a second. Does anybody know what a Beauregard is? A Beauregard is someone who bugs you. So if you, I don't know, maybe you have little brothers and little sisters, and they kind of want to bug you and maybe hit you, and they want to play with you. It's like a nuisance. They're bugging you. So that's what a Beauregard is. And that's one of the Tooth Fairies, okay? So there's other Tooth Fairies. There's water Tooth Fairies. I'd show you this, but it's very faint. So water fairies, they like water. That's right. What do you think brownie fairies do? Make brownies? Tree fairies? They like trees. Let's see, what else do we have? Flower fairies? Maybe they help out with the flowers. Okay? And of course, there's tooth fairies that collect our teeth. Okay? So, we'll put these, we'll leave them right there for now. Let's see what else happens. Holly read the letter and studied her poster. She liked it very much. She wanted to help the Tooth Fairy, but she wasn't sure about giving up her tooth. Then she had an idea. Dear Tooth Fairy, thank you for the poster. It's beautiful. I think all the fairies are wonderful, but I like Tooth Fairies the best. Do you like riddles? I do. Here's a challenge for you. If you ask me a riddle that I can't answer, I'll give you my tooth. That's fair, isn't it? By the way, I know one of those Beauregards, my little brother. Love, Holly. That night, for the 4th time, the Tooth Fairy came. There's another note. Dear Holly, how smart are you? I think you might make a good fairy. We fairies love riddles. I left you a little fairy riddle teller. Try it on your friends. Now here's a challenge. Riddle me roo, riddle me ree. Why is a tooth like a tree? Any ideas? Think about it. The answer might be at the end. A fairy queen's palace is finished, except for one thing, her throne. We need one more tooth to finish it. I hope it will be yours. But if I do not receive it tonight, I shall not ask you again. If you really want to keep it, I would not want to take it from you. Best wishes, the Tooth Fairy. I wonder if she'll leave her tooth this time. What do you think? Holly loved her fairy riddle teller. It was the best present she received. She knew that now was the time to give the Tooth Fairy a present too. That evening, Holly put her tooth under her pillow. Goodbye, Tooth, she said, and she left a final note to the Tooth Fairy. Dear Tooth Fairy, the answer to your riddle is they both have roots. So remember, why does a tree and a tooth alike? They both have roots. I'll show you a picture in a minute. My tooth, I'm giving you my tooth anyway because I know how much you need it. I hope the Fairy Queen likes her new throne. Thank you very much for visiting me and being so patient. I hope to hear from you again sometime. Goodbye. Lots of love, Holly. That night, the Tooth Fairy came for the last time. She took Holly's tooth and left a letter and flew back to Fairyland. When she got there, she put the tooth in its place on the Fairy Queen's new throne. There she is, putting it on her throne right there. One spot for a tooth left. The next morning, Holly read the letter and smiled at her coin. I thought about the tooth fairy and hoped that she'd come again. In fact, yes, one of Holly's teeth was definitely loose. It was time to start another letter to the tooth fairy. You guys want to see your coin? And the letter? So the letter says, "Dear Holly, thank you so much for your tooth. Just as I thought, it was a very good one. It will be put to very good use. I hope you like the special fairy coin I left you. Your answer to the riddle, of course, was correct. You really would make an excellent fairy. I look forward to collecting more of your teeth in the future. Keep brushing. Yours truly, the Tooth Fairy." And her coin looks like this. Has a little tooth fairy on it. And the other side as well. Okay. Special coin. Put it back. Now, the answer to the riddle. Here's a tree with its roots. And did you know that a tooth underneath our gums, they have roots too? That's why a tree and a tooth are alike. Okay? All right, did you guys like this story? I hope you did. Now, I hope I get to see you by the end of the year, but if not, I'll be there next year. Okay? I'm gonna leave you a video. It's a movement video. I think you'll like it. So get ready to dance. Okay? And I hope to see you guys real soon. Bye.